What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about how we need a Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith port, the game, okay? Now, this game has been a very special game in my heart ever since I played it. I did actually play it. I don't know if I played it right before, because it did come out right before Episode 3 came out. I don't think I played it right then. I feel like I played it right after, but in terms of, like, the Xbox era, that is easily one of my favorite games. It's also, in a way, one of my favorite games of all time, one of my favorite Star Wars games. It's a game I commonly forget existed, but I mean, my dear Jesus, when I think back to it, all I think about, I just have a smile on my face. You know what I mean? I have just amazing memories with this game, and you know, this was really brought about by what we've seen with Aspyr, which is the publisher that has given us back Episode 1 Racer. I believe that's what the game is called, right? That came out last year. And then just about a week or so ago, or I think 2 weeks ago, right, was Star Wars Republic Commando, right? Now, they actually gave me both those games. So, again, thank you to them for doing that over the last little while. And, you know, they are definitely rough around the edges. Republic Commando is a lot less rough around the edges than the Pod Racer game, okay? But they, I think, still do have a purpose in gaming now. And sure, I would want a remaster. Don't get it confused. It's like, oh, Alex literally only wants a port. Like, that's setting your standards very low. No, I just feel like the way they do it and the way they've handled it so far with the first two Star Wars games that they've done, I feel like we're more likely to just get literally a port of this game versus a complete remaster. Because if you were to do a remaster or some sort of, you know, kind of rebuilding, I would say remake, but again, let's be realistic here, right? If you were to do a remastered kind of build, well, number one, obviously that would be insane. Number two, with the like person-to-person fighting that you can do in this game, think about that doing it online, right? That would be absolutely, I mean, I would cry. That would be so absolutely amazing. So, you know, that really is what brought this about, is that clearly there is a push, especially from them, actually only from them, to get these older Star Wars games back. And you can go back to, like, you want a Force Unleashed, you want that back. And I want to talk about Force Unleashed 3 in the future, because I do think there is actually a possibility, and it would be a weird world, but I do think it would be possible. But I think there is desire. Like, I don't really know how else to say it. I feel like, you know, you look at this game and you say, like what a weird game to choose, right? Like, if you're just scrolling down a list of games and say, hey, let's bring that one back in a port. But again, like, you look at what they're doing in picking certain Star Wars games to bring back just in a port nature, and they've already done it twice, and I think they've been successful. Otherwise, I don't think they would do the second one. And to my knowledge, those are the only two. Maybe there's been more, and I just completely missed out on them. So let me know if I'm missing any more. But if there are more, that only like helps my argument. You know what I mean? If there's only two, still is fine, because I don't think you do Republic Commando if the Racer game wasn't, you know, successful. With that being said, you are literally just taking a game, doing nothing with it, and moving it to a console. Now, I don't know how nothing they're doing of it, considering there is, like, better loading times. It does visually look a little bit better, but I don't know how much of it is just the console doing it. I think there's an okay amount that the console just does on its own, but I also do think there is some work you have to do behind the scenes. But it's the least amount of work you have to do for anything. When you do a port or a remaster, remake, or make your own game, the port is like miles below any of the other three options. You know what I mean? So even if it does take a little bit of work, and that, again, that also adds the argument too, because you don't put people on these projects if they're not successful. So again, I'm really trying to just build a narrative here. That's really what I'm doing. I'm building a narrative that these games have been successful. If they're looking for other Star Wars games to do from the past, Revenge of the Sith, to me, is the perfect one to do. Considering it has cutscenes in it, I don't know, the story of that game is so good, and it does actually change a little bit of the actual movie. Obviously, there is the differences. Like, you can do like the ending where he kills Obi-Wan, where Anakin kills Obi-Wan, versus when obviously Obi-Wan cuts Anakin's limbs off and all that stuff. But like, that's amazing. Being able to do, there's like the mini games. Once I think you have to beat the game, but I'm not 100% sure. The thing with this is, a lot of my memory is very foggy. I remember you get to play as General Grievous's bodyguards in like a mini game where you have to protect something, and I geeked out so hard at that because I could not believe that you could actually do that. And then again, when you're actually in like the arena where you can just pick these characters, you can play as Grievous, you can play as Mace Windu, all these characters that you can play as and verse the AI. It's so, again, amazing. I adore that game. I played the story of that game probably like 4 or 5 times back in the day. And I was obviously pretty darn young when I played it, but I played it so many times. I would just play, I think I just played like the AI in like the verses. Oh my dear God. And correct me if I'm wrong, could you play as like the older, like Ben Kenobi? I feel like you could because I remember doing that. Maybe I'm making that up, but like so much of this game is special to me. And, again, like when you look back at the older Star Wars games, and when you hear people say, and I've said it too before, where it's like there's a lot of bad out there, okay? When you have a Wild West where anybody can make a Star Wars game, you are going to have some weaker entries, but when you also do that, you also are going to have some that do some like wacky things that like work. Republic Commando works because it's very unlike a lot. I mean, imagine being like this big, like this higher up squad of this like of clone warriors, basically, right? It's incredible, and it's very different than what you can do in a lot of the other games. And it forms this brotherhood between you and your basically your clone brothers. Okay, so I love that. I think that's why it worked. Force Unleashed worked. Now, Force Unleashed 2, I think also easily would have worked if they didn't have to make the game in like, I think the story with Unleashed 2 is like they had like 6 to 9 months to make Force Unleashed 2. It was an absolute joke what they were given to make a Force Unleashed 2. So, that aside, obviously you have the Battlefront games, which I think a lot of people, when I reviewed Republic Commando, I saw in the comments a lot of people say, like, just give us Battlefront 2 probably. Battlefront 2 is by a mile the better game of those two. Just give us Battlefront 2, even if you want to do a port of that. Again, though, like, if you do a remaster or it's hard to go any further than that, right? Because now you're definitely impeding on, like, if you do a remake of it, or if you do a new Battlefront game with that in mind, well, you're impeding on what EA has done with Battlefront 1 and 2, right? So that's a little bit more difficult, but besides the Force Unleashed, there's definitely, Knights of the Old Republic obviously is a big one. I think BioWare, there's been a lot of rumors that Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 is going to have a port that comes out, so I think that'll end up happening. And honestly, that'll probably be what happens next, is we probably just get the Knights of the Old Republic games in a ported form. I think Revenge of the Sith should be the game right after that. If they're not already doing it, I think they should be doing it, because I just feel like there's so much love for that game. There's always been a lot. I've seen like random channels I've never seen before, I haven't seen since, then they've talked about, Revenge of the Sith and just how an amazing game, how much fun they remember having with that game. Yeah, I agree. It's something that I don't think about often. Again, I kind of forget that it exists quite often, but then when I think back, if I'm actually like trying to focus on it, all I remember is amazing memories. And I think it would by a mile, besides maybe Force Unleashed there's a couple of them. I don't know how I feel about that game, Revenge of the Sith, versus like Knights of the Old Republic would be incredible. Even Force Unleashed would also be incredible, or even Battlefront, but it's definitely up there. I don't know if it's exactly equal, maybe slightly below, but it's definitely up there in terms of something that I would want as well. So let me know, guys, in the comments below, what do you think? And again, I know I keep saying port. Obviously, I want remasters, I want remakes, I want like the best quality possible. If we're looking at the history of what they've been doing, though, ports seem to be what we would get, so that's the only reason, honestly, why I'm saying ports. So which very old Star Wars games would you want ported into, the current generation that we're in right now? Let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys have the bell icon turned on so all these videos go up. If you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, PodcastNow15 is my Twitter handle. I'll leave a link for it in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching. I really, really do appreciate it. I hope to see you all on the next video.